In VUCA world, the secret to success is to develop our knowledge, skills, and competencies at a pace faster with the rate of change of the dimensions of the business. A very good afternoon to 1% here. Hope everyone is safe and healthy. Dear audience, you will discover yourself as the colors of this webinar embellishes all together. Well, I'm Niveda Rezat, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, shall be your host for the day. It's my privilege to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Ms. Prachi M., Head of People and Talent Acquisition, Cambridge Vauxhall Language Assessment, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. I extend a cheerful greetings to the eminent organizers of this webinar, Dr.M.G.R, Head of the Department of Human Resource Management, Ms. Vasanthi, Assistant Professor, Ms. Ramya, Assistant Professor, Ms. Deepa, Assistant Professor, and Mr. Ganesh Babu, a System Admin to our virtual studio. May I now call upon an inspiring personality, Dr. R.J.M., Head of the Department, to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Niveda. Strength grows when we dare, unity grows when we pair, a relationship grows when we care, love grows when we share. With this wonderful wordings, a very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to one and all for this international webinar on VUCA, World and Challenges of Human-Focused Organization on behalf of the Department of Human Resource Management, Dr.M.G.R Educational and Research Institute, University. Hearty welcome to the participants from all over the world. Heartfelt gratitude to our founder chancellor, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, and to our honorable president, engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for their never-ending motivation and support in all the ways. Heartfelt thanks and hearty welcome to our wonderful speaker of the day, Ms. Prachi, Head of People and Talent Acquisition, Cambridge Vauxhall Language Assessment, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. She is an HR practitioner with 17 years of experience. Besides HR practitioner, she is a multi-talented woman playing various roles like mentor, trainer, coach, motivator, and so on. We are happy to have you today along with us, ma'am. Thank you for your acceptance and presence today. Welcome, ma'am. It's my pleasure to welcome and thank all the executives, deans, department heads, faculty members, research scholars, and students for this webinar. A special thanks to Mr. Prabhu, Joint Registrar, Dr. A.R. Arunachalam, Dean Academics, and Dr. K. Sendil Kumar, Dean of Administration of our Phase 2 campus, for their continuous support to us in all the ways. A very warm and pleasant welcome to our enthusiastic and energetic and ever supporting our technical support person, Mr. Ganesh Babu, and Ms. Akshaya for their support in all the ways to us. Today, we are going to be enriched with a wonderful topic, VUCA, World and Challenges of Human-Focused Organizations. So VUCA is one way to describe today's business world. It is a totally new environment where old laws don't apply. VUCA is referred to as the new normal. The survival of business is this high in this competitive world depends on the adaptability and agility of the firms. Organizations have to be highly responsible, not just to needs of their employees, but will have to cater to customers, suppliers, creditors, and competitors at the same time. VUCA world demands cognitive readiness, ability to be prepared, and agility to handle any situation that emerges upsetting the status quo. For running a business in a prosperous way, it requires to deal with a lot of uncertain problems that causes hindrance in the working of a successful business in today's business world, which is quite competitive. From a very long time, these challenges have been affecting the businesses, and today also, along with their speed, power, and frequency, they are moving forward in nature. The collaborative challenges have an aggressive and effective nature and generally represented by an acronym popularly known as VUCA. The current era is a time influenced by technological revolutions. Today, artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning are the main heroes ruling the current corporate world. They are posing a challenging environment to human intelligence, talents, and skills. The dynamics of the business environment is constantly changing. The world is increasingly moving into a VUCA context. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity is be the deep undercurrents that will rattle industry and organizations. The question grappling with every one of us is, will human force be replaced by machines? Will robot take over human efforts in factories and service-oriented jobs? Will artificial intelligence and robotics help sail through easily? Big questions to be answered a lot. Researchers and top CEOs agree to the fact that introduction of artificial intelligence and robotics will ease up the complexity and increase results in terms of volumes and margins. As every coin has two sides, it is also has its own two. Yes, organizations in our agreement, these innovations are and will help businesses to be agile and result driven at rapid speed. But at the same time, there is deep fear that these technological disruptions will wipe out human jobs, which indeed is a matter of serious concern. The business environment is characterized as the VUCA world. Organizations have to constantly research, cope, and adapt to the VUCA situation. Companies are desperately trying to be proactive by imagining what the world could be like tomorrow and by continuously developing new products and services. Because the world has become so unpredictable, trial and error has become the only way forward in the face changing sectors to the economy. But not only products, services, and processes need to be changed. The companies have to change more fundamentally. They need different business models, different company structures, a different employee profile, different leadership, and different ways of interacting with each other. Today's business have to be able to understand and navigate this VUCA concept scenario. Many questions like mission will take over the human workforce. Is any HRM strategies can be adopted to manage the man-mission involvement? How? Why? But when? All these questions, there are so many questions like this. To answer many questions related to VUCA, today we have a very eminent speaker, Madam Prachi with us. Hope this webinar will be a knowledgeable session. Once again, I welcome you all. Health is wealth. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for warmly welcoming each and everyone. Before we commence, the feedback and assessment form will be available in the YouTube chat box at the end of the session. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 2 p.m. today. Before 6 p.m. today. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to your register email immediately. I repeat, the feedback and assessment form will be available in the YouTube chat box at the end of the session. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 6 p.m. today. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to your register email immediately. Next, I wish to call upon Ms. Ramya, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, to introduce our eminent chief guest. Over to you, Ms. Ramya.
Thank you, madam. A very good afternoon to one Dr. Present here. It's a great privilege to introduce our eminent and honorable chief guest for the day, Ms. Prachi, Head of People Talent Acquisition, Cambridge Boxer Language Assessment, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Our speaker is a committed and passionate senior HR practitioner with 17 years of value-added experience in developing high-performing workforce and creating people excellence for large and mid-sized organizations. She has mentored and coached many managers and senior leaders as their HR business partner. During her international career, she has been able to manage talent using competency-based HRM, evolving and executing HR strategies, management training, and business partnering. Our presenter is experienced in leading a number of function-specific HR interventions, spanning from your customer relations to project delivery for organization structure design, job evaluation, workforce planning, performance management, learning management, competency development, career development, policies and procedure design, workforce analytics, and HR strategies review and alignment. Besides, she is a certified trainer, coach, mentor, team management, strategic HR dashboards, and metric and meaning. She is an extremely enthusiastic leader with strong interpersonal skills, strategic planning capability, and networking skills. Many thanks and a humble and honor for her presence here today, ma'am. On behalf of the department and our university, I wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a stunning profile. Now, the most awaited time has arrived. Without any further delay, I welcome our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Ms. Prachi, to proceed with her presentation. Madam, we request you to take over the session and enrich us with knowledge. To you now, ma'am.
Good afternoon, each and every one of you. I'm really honored and thank you all for having me this afternoon. It was an absolutely stunning introduction uh, of my background and my experience. I must say, I wasn't expecting that. So, thank you so much to your faculty, your dean, and doctors present here. I'm honored to be presenting to you all what I have been working in the last 18 months as the global organizations have been hit by effects of COVID. Um, the, the education and the research institutes such as yours play a big role in today's world when we are talking of what a human focused organization could deliver in future. It's the work that each of the students, faculty members, researchers do with the organization such as yours, help people like me to be able to deliver a much better service and support to the organizations of the future. So I'm really pleased to be coming and presenting to you as a community what would be possibly a future research and the future talent across the globe. I have a little presentation that I will be sharing with all of you as I talk through it, but I would look forward to your questions at the end of the presentation. Um, it is amazing in today's world that we are able to sit in Melbourne, Australia, and present to whole world of audience. How far has the technology come? I'm just going to take a moment to share, not my screen, a file so that you're able to share my presentation. Give me a moment. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with sharing, but let's try and do the best possible. Isn't it amazing how the technology always gives us challenges when we want it to support us? So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm not sure if that's the best way. So I'll try and do that.
Yes. Hello. Yes, ma'am, you can share your screen now.
Are you able to see me screen clearly? And
No, ma'am.
still hear
No,
me?
ma'am. No, ma'am. I can hear you only, not the screen.
Not the screen. Here we go. At my end, I can see the screen. Now?
No, ma'am. You click on share button, ma'am.
Yep.
Yeah, now it's
How about
coming.
this?
Now it's coming.
Okay, thank you.
You can okay. Super.
I have a little disturbance on the line. I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you. It's gone. Uh, we were talking about the VUCA word, and you had a good understanding of what does VUCA or VUCA means uh, from one of your faculty members. Thank you for that. I thought I will try and amaze every one of you while I present the context of a human focused organization, or how the responsibility of HR has changed in this context. So many of you would have read about the word VUCA. It basically is defining the uncertainty that we all are living. I know many countries across the world has had to deal with a lot of challenges. And when we talk of the VUCA word, it has a very clear meaning. It means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That's the full form for VUCA. If you look at any country, any society, any culture, any organization, any business, everyone is trying to adjust to the current context because there is so much volatility in today's world. Today, we might be working well, but in a matter of 10 to 14 days, we might go into lockdown. I know in India, most of the states have opened up, most of the cities have opened up. But here in Melbourne, Australia, we are going through a sixth lockdown. Oh, I must tell you, by the end of this whole COVID and the pandemic situation, you will find that Melbourne or areas surrounding Melbourne would have lived through the longest lockdown of the world. When I say sixth lockdown, we have been in a lockdown for around 6 weeks now, where we can go out for 1 hour to do exercise, sometimes 3 hours, and we can only go around 5 kilometers from where we are. And that's the only things that we can do outside of the house, except for medical or caring. What does it make our life to be? Today, we are in lockdown. If the numbers of the infection cases drops, then we go to open up. The business has to change. And it's so complex that every one of us is trying to make sense of this word. And it is so ambiguous. What we can do next year, none of us know. So in current VUCA word, we're looking at trying to adjust every single day with not a lot of certainty whether we would be able to survive the way we are today or tomorrow. Let me give you some context onto the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous word and the global situation economically. The word VUCA actually appeared a few years back in 1987, and it was by an Army War College. If you want to search up, you will find a lot of information which can help you give a context here. Pandemic, which has become a word that all of us have lived by in last so many months. It was first COVID-19, then it turned into a coronavirus shutdown. Then it was a shutdown for every restaurant, bar, shops, gym, and a mandate for all the businesses to have 80% of the workers to work from home, regardless of whether they were showing symptoms of coronavirus or COVID-19. This is a change that no business has ever anticipated. This was a change, nobody was prepared for it. It did throw all of us at the same time across the globe in a frenzy way of shutting down offices and every other social event and lead us to find out new ways of working. That's why it is called as one of the greatest equalizer in the world. Every organization triggered hiring freezes. For whole of 2022, we had hardly any hiring, which made talent really frustrated about what's going to be future volatility and the uncertainty. And a record 3.3 million Americans applied for unemployment benefits. The unemployment rates in Australia in itself had touched something around 7%, which was all-time high. And we saw a youth, especially lining up outside unemployment centers looking for grants to survive day to day. The biggest question that everybody asked, would the workplace transform? Would you transform? Would your team transform? And would the organization transform? And people did not expect it. They thought, okay, this wave of pandemic will happen, go out, but we will all be back to normal. But it is 18 months now, and I'm not sure what is normal anymore. And I'm looking for that answer with our offices back in US, Australia, our teammates working in India, Philippines, Cambridge, UK. So it is a very uncertain word for all of us. What it did lead to was challenging the human resources of every organization, as in team who was managing the HR, as well as the people in every company. These were some of the issues on top of my mind was employee well-being. Can we actually make sure that all our employees are okay? Nobody contracts first and foremost by COVID. They are safe, their family is safe, so they work from home. But the amount of job stress and job dissatisfaction, those changes actually caused to the employees were unthought of. We talked about culture, we talked about people, we talked about employee engagement, and we talked about highest employee engagement. But sitting at home, there was a lot of boredom. People were not sure whether I'll have a job in next 2 months, 3 months, and there were layoffs, right? There was health and safety, and just to keep jobs, people went working for more than 12 hours. Then there was a requirement for flexible working because everybody was working from home. And things transformed very quickly to remote work as being here, hybrid working is here for a long time to come. But there was a lot of other issues that started coming soon at the end of 2020 and start of 2021. And that caused me to think about how is the world transforming in the terms of business, but more so in the work of HRM, human resources management. In the next coming few slides, I'm going to talk about the various aspects that the human resource professionals had to work in various organizations across the globe, across multiple continents, across multiple countries, and across various cultures. But not to forget, people remain the same. So one of the biggest effect, if you look at the industries that were affected by COVID, was many industries first thought that they will be negatively affected by COVID, and there are still. And one of the biggest hit, if we were able to interact, and it was not a YouTube session, I'm sure each or one of us will agree, was a retail outlet. The online shopping has just taken off, but whereas the malls, the retail outlets have been really, really suffering at this point of time. there have been hiring freezes in many manufacturing and other jobs where people have to come in to do the job, and they're not able to come in. Many organizations decided not to actually lay off or make the positions redundant, but had to work really hard to retain good staff, because if they had to lay off, they were not sure whether they will be able to get somebody as trained and talented that they have been having over the years. But no more hiring was one of the clear mandate across many industry. That's one part of the whole discussion. If you look at the other part of the discussion, we had industries and sectors which actually boomed. And I'm fortunate to be working with one of such organization which have had 30% growth during COVID. So which were the industries actually who made the most? Healthcare, social assistance, public administration, finance and insurance, mining, not to forget logistics. Anything which was to do with supply chain management did do well. And I'm sure one name that comes to everybody's mind is Amazon. They have grown leaps and bounds in this scenario, and anything to do with digital. We are on one of those platforms which is very digital, but if any one of you ever looked at the shares of Zoom, would know how far they have come in the last 18 months since the pandemic hit. These are the industries where the additional hiring has undertaken, while in most of us have been at constant and stopping to take understanding where we are and where we might be going in this volatile and complex situation where we don't know what next month, next week might look like. That's just a concept of the industry. Going back to what it has done to our workforce, what has it done to our industry? One of the biggest questions that each organization have asked, and have asked from all their HR managers to head of HR and every people manager, how long will you have your people working remotely? And now remote working has taken a new turn. It's called as hybrid working. But is it something of the future? Is it here to stay? Are some of the biggest questions that we as in human resources are being asked. If you ask me, many industries are yet to make a commitment on long-term remote working. We do not know yet how the performance would be affected, and will people continue to do an excellent amount of work while working remotely or from home without any social interaction. So that is something that we have to watch very carefully and see what it might result in. The due diligence required for people for working from home has changed drastically, because there is a need for safety and health perspective. There is a need for well-being, because people are roll out of bed straight to their computer and they do not shut down till late nights. I know a few professionals who work till 2 a.m. day after day because they're working on global deals and global platforms, which is not sustainable. It will lead to burnout, it will lead to ill health, it will lead to psychological effect, and the safety is an issue. If they're worried about whether they will have a job or not, that is affecting their family also. So the question to all of us And I wish I had an answer for you, but the challenge that I am trying to address, as well as all the human resource professional across the world, along with the leaders, is that employees working from home is there for all times to come. And do we have all the tools to perform this ways of working in future? There is lack of communication between the employees and the managers. There are multiple platforms from Microsoft Team Reviewer, and all others, but there has been a huge effect on the financial of the organization as well as the employee financials when talking of working from home. It seems like we will be hybrid working for a very, very long time, and that is not considered a benefit anymore. It is considered a necessity for anybody working in an office job. While we're talking of digital roles, computer-based role, office roles, they can be performed remotely. How about industries such as logistics, healthcare, and manufacturing? You cannot have nurses and doctors working from home. They have come out as one of the biggest warriors of this. We cannot have our logistic people not delivering parcels to letters. We cannot have manufacturing happening from work. While there is a lot of media presence, a lot of discussion on remote working, we are forgetting the core industry happening across the world. Moving on to the second challenge of remote working or hybrid working or working in this current scenario, where the volatility and uncertainty makes people management one of the most difficult tasks. People or human beings are social animal. We have known that. We always wondered why it is, but it has become more and more clear that people like to be in a social setting, they like to be together, they like to be in a room, they like to be in a college or a school. That's the best way that they perform, is together. But the challenge for today is that it has become so agile and there is a need to respond very, very quickly every time we have a situation in hand. What it does do is that anybody who's dealing with people have to keep themselves updated. There is a requirement for a changed compliance or due diligence when we're talking of policies, procedures, to have a greater agility as well as flexibility. For example, if an employee is working from home and in a team meeting, somebody gets upset or comes to in a team meeting because he or she is upset with something happening at home, there is no way we can manage that except asking that person to take some time off. Whereas if that person was in office or was present face to face, it would have been a much simpler management of their emotions, of what they are going through, and they are a bit removed from where they might be getting a disturbance. On the other hand, everything happening in office is affecting people's personal life. If I have had a tough day at work or they have had stresses dealing with my team, with my stakeholders, with my customer, unfortunately, it might come out in my dinner or food. And it has been so different than what it might have taken when I was working in office. You walk out of office and you leave everything there. There's a requirement of business continuity. So when we went into a COVID situation, one of the biggest worries of the organization, and for somebody like me who was managing a business continuity, what happens if my top management falls sick? Starting from the CEO, COO, CFO, if they fall sick and they are to stay in isolation, God forbid, if they have to be actually hospitalized, how would you manage to have a backup? And that has brought us the biggest challenge. Another one that comes to my mind is the requirement of employee engagement. How do you engage somebody through a computer? I can see them the way you can see me here, but how much can I actually engage you as a person, can reach you, or can I communicate to you effectively through a computer screen? It is limited. It is very limited, and it is just what we can do. So the communication has changed, the engagement has changed, the way we relate to each other as human beings have changed. And a lot of people have actually asked that we want to continue to work from home and never come to office, even if it means less pay for us. So if you look at today's people management and the challenges that the leaders of today has to deal with, it's gone huge. The leadership in itself has changed. And it's one of my favorite slides here today and a favorite part of the discussion, because I always thought the experts had the answers. But if you look at the quote on the top of the slide, it says, in a beginner's mind, the enthusiasm, the hunger to do something creates many possibilities. But in an expert's mind, there are always few, because they have looked at every possibility, and something which has huge risk has been taken away. So many of us are beginners when it comes to COVID and how we would manage with people challenges and leadership across the globe. One thing to remember is the strategic role of HR, which is all about creating the right work environment and right culture, as well as giving right platform people to grow, has become more and more challenging. There is a need for greater equality and justice across various industries. One of the biggest things that I have learned, or possibly I have stuck to while learning every change that we have gone through, is the women have come out as an exceptional leader. And that can be because of various reasons. If you look at Jacinda Ardern, who is the New Zealand Prime Minister, she came out as one of the biggest influencer and a leader across the world in the COVID crisis. And I have a few friends in New York and a few friends back in India. They say one COVID case in New Zealand, and she, as a prime minister, shuts down the country. That is the first country that has been COVID free for a very, very long time. Her approach is different, her attitude is different, and she has provided a unique woman perspective, being a woman leader, which has been very encouraging to watch. In the professional world of corporate, the women have actually stepped up very differently. Because it was a risk, COVID is something nobody has expected. They were not prepared for it. No business was ready for it. No board of directors for it had known for it. So there were opportunities or new positions which were created. And not knowing where the world was going, with the uncertainty and the volatility of the market with the COVID-19, These positions were taken by some of the women entrepreneurs or women leaders. And naturally, they would have got those positions or not have, most likely not. They were given to women because it was a risky situation, it was a crisis management. And a lot of women took that challenge, took that opportunity, and made it their own. Don't they say, when you have lemons, what do you do? Or life gives you lemons, what do you do with it? You make lemonade. And that has been a very, very interesting space to watch. The opportunities, because of change and a need for to do things differently, has been amazing in governance as well as in future. So as you all come into the workforce and join, your learning from last 18 months or in current year would actually make you a much better suited talent to deal with any future pandemics in the future. It's interesting, as you all in this current situation have looked at everything and understood that from various business leaders, from your faculties, from your research scholars, have been not involved in the industry but yet have been watching it closely. So what you bring to the industry would be very, very encouraging for people like me to watch. As a business leader myself, and my other colleagues across various companies and various countries have had to see different possibilities and look at things from very different perspective. There was disruption of the work, and there was a crisis, and I don't know this word how many thousands of times it has been used. We all have been in an unprecedented journey for coming weeks and months. Moving on from leadership, it does bring us to our behaviors. For many hundred years, for many years, and almost 100 years, we haven't seen the pandemic. So the last pandemic that the world experienced was in 1920 with the Spanish flu. So for last 100 years, we all have been working in a corporate sector or as an organization with the old habits. What has the last 18 months or so, 2020 or 2021, has shown us? We need to find new habits. We need to have a new mindset to get to the new results, because we are in a VUCA world. It is complex and it is ambiguous, and we don't know what we don't know. We have never seen it. We don't know what it might turn out to be. So each one of the professionals had to change their behaviors. So employees had to collaborate, had to work with each other, and the human resources professional, people and culture professionals, had to be at the back to encourage that change from old habits to the new habits, from old mindset to the new mindset. It has to be flexible and adaptable. And all of us had to upskill ourselves pretty quickly, isn't it? I remember I used to hate switching on a camera because I was not good at doing things via video. I was a very spontaneous person, spontaneous leader who loved coaching, human interaction, and would love to stand on a stage and give a presentation. But look at us today. We're doing that through screen, something that I never thought I would have to upskill myself. The presence on the screen has become a new normal. Looking at us as an HR professionals and experts and various managers, we had to manage people and performance for a remote workforce. So there is no visible person. You see what you are shown via a screen. And we have all seen a number of videos where people are very professionally dressed up on the top, and not to mention not so professionally dressed up when looking at their attire. And we all laughed about it, but it became a way of life for many. As well as the employees who were working with managers who would not allow their staff to work from home in the past had to actually accept this is the only way they will be able to work for many, many months. So the managers had to adapt to the staff being invisible. And the trust came as one of the biggest factor required for a better behavior and a better mindset and a better achievement across the board. Trust in employees, trust in managers, and the trust across the various organizations, and the fairness when it comes to employee performance and employees delivering what you wanted to deliver. Micromanagement did lead to a lot of issues. If I look at my background, I have seen people who have been micromanaging that had led them to a very difficult time with their teams. We all started having morning meetings as a team. So everybody log in at 9:15, talk about what is required, what is not required, and then go our ways. Because during the day, I might be busy, but my team might be free. My team might be free, and I might be busy. So there was no way I could see, or any manager could see what their team was doing. They had to trust that their team is doing what is required to do. And that has been a big behavior change when it came to this current scenario of managing in the pandemic, and the employees had to focus more on deliverable. The efforts did not matter anymore because nobody can see the efforts, but everybody could see the deliverables. And that has been a big change in the mindset because the results became important. They were always important, but more so right now because nobody was seeing your effort. Another change that many organizations did had to see is reskilling or double down on upskilling their staff. Because once the market opened in 2021, the great resignation became a very common trend. In my specific experience in today's world, last 6 months have been one of the toughest to recruit any new talent. And the reason for that is people have a lot of choices. Employees are driving the market right now, or the candidates looking for job is choosing who is the employer that I want to work with. And that has caused most of the organization to look at how they will retain the current talent and move them to another one positions. So learning as such has radically transformed. And I have on the slide a few organizations that have announced big scale plans to actually tap into the talent that they currently have and upskill them into the various roles. And AI, as Doctor just mentioned that in her introduction to VUCA talk, has become the core of an ecosystem which will have skill inventory, and learning will happen in a very different way because the startups and edtechs are going to be the path which would be leading the path of learning in this new environment. So challenges for an HR professional or a human focused organization is how will they get their humans trained and reskilled. There was always need to reskill or upskill the staff, but that has just become almost double because of the lack of talent. And I must say, the great resignation was something that I haven't seen in my career of last 17 plus years. If you look at um, so many people changing jobs was not heard of. And talent shortage is across US, across UK, across Asia and Oceania. And be surprised why there's a lack of talent, because a lot of people have focused themselves on their personal development. People's priorities have changed when they have seen what pandemic means, how life can be challenged by small little things in life. A lot of my colleagues and a lot of people that I have worked with in the past decided not to continue their careers in the field that they were, because they wanted to do something which was more purpose driven. A lot of Australian workforce, which was close to 60 plus, decided to retire. So that whole chunk of talent available and the experience available is slowly, gradually, and from their perspective, but very quickly from organization perspective, is moving out of the market, which we did not expect. So what is the choice of the organizations? Organizations have to reskill and upskill people to make sure they're able to do the job effectively as they did. And one of the biggest challenges of this pandemic has been mental health. It was a subject that was taboo or was not brought up by a lot of organizations and in a lot of workplaces. Things like depression, anxiety, mental health were and psychological disorder no was not mentioned at workplace by the employee who might be going through it, by the employer not recognized as a diverse workforce. But the focus of working from home has brought us very, very close to this specific. And this is something I have become more and more passionate as we have grown into this word, which is very, very uncertain. It has led to many employees to isolation. If you look at countries like US, UK, and Australia, a lot of people stay alone. They don't have families. They decide not to have families. They don't have partners. They don't have parents, and they go alone. And that has led to isolation. And when we're talking of man being a social animal, the absence of interaction between their colleagues, lack of peer advice, a lack of one-on-one communication has led to a lot of stress, and that has affected mental health. Whereas, on the other hand, we have parents of young children and young families, which has added stress to a lot of parents and employees who have a constant demand to look at the family while working from home and make presentations. We have seen people have brought their small kids, brought their pets online while working from home because they became their new co-workers. I do want to mention here the techno stress, a new word that we started using very, very often in this current technology, because there is a urgent need, because you are present all time. You're at home. We are in lockdown. Where will you go? So there is an expectation created by organizations that you can do more or you can be available anytime. You can respond to the emails. There is a expectation that the employee is constantly available, and a huge number of emails added to the mental health issues, which at over a long duration, such as last 1 year, has led to the psychological health issues, especially for those that isolate themselves using emails, right? A lot of people did not have trust, so they would not talk about but write. And the amount of stress that they have gone on, burnt out. The whole burnout of many thousands of employees across the world has led to people taking leave due to mental health, and which has become a right step in the right direction. When if you have mental health issues, then you can call in and say, I want to take a day off for my mental health, which has been a very positive step of acceptance by the human focused organizations, that mental health is equally important to physical and emotional stress. Last but not the least, the need to change our behaviors, a constant need to change behavior has been very rapid. There has been need to create activities. I think all of us have heard of virtual lunches, virtual coffee break, virtual drinks, bingo, Kahoot, and many more. But that's not something that we are used to, right? We have not done it, we didn't enjoy it, but we had to do it. And if you look at the image on my slide, there were always clear stages of behavior change. But did any one of us or any one of our employees or any one of our friends or staff got time to actually go through those changes of or stages of behavior change? No. 1 minute we were all working in office, and the second week we were all working from home, and it was very nice the first month. And then the second month it was not so nice. And then at the end of 8 months, it was draining. Nobody told us this is what it is going to look even after almost 2 years. So that gradual change in behavior actually never happened. It was thrust upon us. We decided to take that on our stride because some of us are very happy with the change, but it was tough. It was a crisis in every way and form. We had people not doing well because of their health issues, or they may be infected from virus. And then there was work, which was always in crisis because some companies were not doing so well. So both the new practices for both the employees and the managers created a lot of dissatisfaction, and many actually started, is this for me? They started questioning their own capability, their own confidence that they never thought, right? So can I keep working through my computer or working somewhere away from my peers and my colleagues and do the same quality of work? And the need to understand the organization culture and contributing to it, the development of an organization became very different. A lot of human resource people had to relook at their culture. What was their culture pre-COVID, and what was their culture during COVID, and what would be the culture tomorrow in this hybrid working, has become one of the biggest questions that we are looking to answer. because the behaviors and the values that define the culture of an organization has been challenged by pandemic. The values under which we perform, such as one team, one mission, or we have to respect everybody through the system, became very difficult to actually measure because the behaviors changed based on today. If we were not in lockdown, there was one way of working. If we are in lockdown, there is another way of working. And there's a constant change. Yes, the infection rates have grown up, so we will all work from home. Then infection rates have gone down, so you can all start coming back to colleges and offices. And so there is nothing constant, not even the culture or how we interact is constant. And the behaviors of people have got affected because of that. Because change sometimes needs change, but the pace of change here has been absolutely unexpected. Another thing that we do find that has affected our cultures and behaviors have been the way the behaviors of our peers have changed. While we were watching our own behavior, while we were trying to be the right person, the behavior of our peers or the people that we work with has changed. And when that changes, it affects us. When you see people leaving, then it affects us. When you see that them developing, that affects us. So both positively and effectively, the change in our colleagues' behavior, the change in our bosses' behavior, the change in our teachers' behavior has affected the change in us. So that's a lot of change, right? We've talked about change in how we do things, change in where we work from, the change in our behaviors, the change in our leadership, a change in our mental health. And that is what is a VUCA word in every possible format. So in conclusion, the central role that a HR is playing, driving the operational and strategic success during the COVID has been huge. It has been absolutely exhausting 18 months of change. So there was, first of all, there was a need to expand understanding how work will influence employee behavior and action. Second, there were a lot of tensions between stakeholders, which is board of directors or the company owners, which were affected because of the finances. And in end result, it highlighted the need to change of employees, customer, and communities along with the shareholders. Because in current market, the employee is also become your customer. Because if you want to get a good employee, you have to fight for that talent. And recruitment has become a biggest challenge in today's world. Third, and not final, but it does relate, there is a constant tension of where would the strategy sit and how will we execute it, because you have to keep dealing with this volatility and complex, ambiguous situation. And these are the questions for the future, and that needs to be explored by the researchers. So the researchers and academia and analysts and the faculty of this institute will be actually telling us, people like me, what the future of HR holds. How has COVID, one of the biggest digital enabler of the world, affected the human resources of the future? Thank you for listening to me. It has been absolutely my pleasure to share all my learnings from last 18 months, but it has become the new normal of the work. What is clear is none of us can afford to have what we had in the past. Everything has changed. So I'm happy to take any questions that the team might have or go from there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for an enriching session. Dear participants, if you have any queries or questions to ask, you can post the same in the comment box. Our speaker is ready to answer to your questions. I repeat, dear participants, if you have any questions or queries to ask, you can post the same in the comment box. Our speaker will be answering to your questions.
Sorry, I did not understand. Is there a question there?
As of now, there many questions have been asked.
Any comments? There are only two times when you don't have questions. Either you've understood everything or you have understood nothing. And I'm not sure which one is it. So definitely I'll.
We have received excellent feedback from our registrants. So definitely the session was an informative session. There's no doubt about it. All right, ma'am. I think there are no more questions. So can I proceed? Ma'am, can I proceed further? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Ma'am, shall we proceed?
Ma'am, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Shall we proceed, ma'am?
Thank you. So, ma'am, yes, there is one question which is asked by Ms. Sashi. How to safeguard ourselves in relation to health from the VUCA world? I repeat, how to safeguard ourselves in relation to health from the VUCA world?
An excellent question. Thanks, Shashi, for that. Um, I wish, I had an answer to that question. Uh, it is when you are talking of a VUCA word, I think where you can save yourself from a health perspective is trying to be strong mentally, first of all. If I was speaking to one of the directors of mental health organization at workplace, and he gave me a very good example, and I think that might be a good quote here. He's mentioned that um, when there were people in Nazi camps in World War II, um, the Jews who were put together in those concentration camps, half of them actually struggled with the fact that they did not know whether they will be picked up to be taken to the gas chamber that day. So when the door of that hall would open, and people who would break down or would have a possible meltdown on a heart attack were the one who were not mentally strong to deal with the uncertainty. The uncertainty there was whether I would die today or not. People who were certain that we are going to die, they did not have those so much issues with their health. And I thought that was a very, very powerful example of what uncertainty can do to human mental health challenges. Because if, look at us, dying does not make them worry, but not knowing whether they would die or not did actually affect their mental health much, in a much bigger format. So to safeguard your own health in this work VUCA environment, you have to be mentally strong, confident, and be very positive about it. You need to prepare yourself to be positive about it. There would be good days and there would be bad days. And you just have to keep working with them and have a more positive outlook. If today is bad, it will not stay like that. If it is good, it will not stay like that also. So you may be like, look at us in Australia. We are in a lockdown from last 6 weeks. We have been in a lockdown of something like 8 months. And it has been absolutely challenging to be sitting in one house and not meeting people. And like we can't even go, we only go out once in a week to get our groceries. So if one person was not mentally strong, and of course, sitting at home, what do? You fight with everybody in the house. So you do have to keep yourself strong and not fight, to say. Thanks, Shashi, for that question. An excellent question. But it does talk of resilience. So you need to have more resilience to safeguard your health in this VUCA world. And to safeguard your confidence more on, because tomorrow you will go into the corporate world if you are not already in the corporate world, and you will have to find these challenges come to you. Because there is another research or study coming out which is talking that these pandemic, if this will end, there will be another one, and we will be like this for all times in future. Almost like a Hollywood zombie movie, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, is there any other questions to ask?
Can I ask a question from the participants? How many knew about the VUCA word before this seminar? Can we have show of hands, or everybody can type in the comments, yes, I knew, or not, I did not know. Thank you. I can see the comments now. Now we have no other questions? Looks like that.
Yes. All right, ma'am. So with your permission, I wish to wind up this question and answer session. Thank you so much, madam, for delivering a wonderful, informative, and an interactive session. We're very grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences with all of us. At this happy moment, we would like to present our appreciation certificate to the chief guest. I request Mr. Ganesh Babu to display the appreciation certificate.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to address this absolutely brilliant, and thanks for the certificate. Really appreciate you recognizing my efforts and recognizing my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Ganesh Babu. I now call upon Ms. Deepa, Assistant Professor from the Department of HR, is eagerly waiting to express her gratitude to everyone who helped in the success of conduct of today's webinar. I hence invite her to propose the formal vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, audio not audible. Ma'am, not audible. Not audible, ma'am. Mhm. No, ma'am, it's not audible. Niveda, ma'am, it's not audible.
Now it's,
Oh, okay, ma'am.
now it's audible?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, now audible.
Okay. A very good afternoon to one and all. A very good afternoon to all. Saying thank you is more than good manner. It's good spirituality. With that being said, I deemed a honor to privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Human Resource Management for this one of the international webinar, VUCA World and Challenges of Human Focused Organization. Heartfelt thanks to our management and our Honorable President, Engineer ACS Armugam, and all other executives for rendering their support and uh, conducting various programs. A special thanks to our speaker for the day, Ms. Prachi M, for her wonderful, valuable, enriching session. Thank you so much, madam, for your presence and for sharing your informative information. Heartily thanks to our joint president, respected Dean, Dr. A.R. Arunachalam Academic, and Dr. K. Sendal Kumar Administration for their continuous support in conducting various programs. It may it may honor to thank our HOD, Dr. Dr. R. Jayam, for providing an opportunity to deliver vote of thanks. Special thanks to our participant for your presence and continuous support. It's my privilege to thank you, ma'am, Niveta Rajit, for her wonderful mastering of the webinar, and also thanks for Ms. Ramya for introducing our chief guest. Last but not least, my heartfelt thanks to Ms. Ganesh Babu and Ms. Akshaya for the technical support, and I thank all other who have supported us in all the way. Be thankful for, for what you have, and you will ended up having more than. With this quote, I finish my vote of thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. As per our policy, we normally won't request our speakers to share their PPT, but at the same time, this video will be ever available in our YouTube channel. Participants can view at any moment. We have come to an end of the program. Hope everyone has gained knowledge. With the satisfaction of presenting a good webinar, we wish to sign off and meet you all in the next program. Don't forget to submit your feedback form and subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr.M.G.R. University, Face to Digital Learning, for further updates about our programs and videos. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.